And now some breaking news coming in. Interest rates are set to rise as home loan EMIs could increase. Remember, as the RBI hikes the repo rate by 0.25%. Right, this is the big information coming in right now. RBI has hiked the repo rate by 0.25%. And my colleague Kavita Krishnan now joining me on the phone line with more. Kavita, take us through what exactly this means.
Right. In fact, the hike that the RBI has announced was largely along expected lines. And what this essentially means for you and me is that our interest rates, the interest that we pay on our home loan, on our auto loans, all of those could go up. That is, if the banks choose to pass on this hike in the interest rates, in the repo rate that the RBI has announced. Just to bring our viewers up to speed, today the RBI did announce that repo rate has now gone up by 0.25% to 6.5%, which means the money that the banks get from the RBI, the rate at which they borrow goes up. So money becomes costlier for the banks, which effectively means that the money that the banks will lend out to you and me will also become more expensive, which is why the interest rates for us could go up. We've also, in fact, Urvashi, seen a trend where, the banks have been hiking deposit rates. India's largest bank, the State Bank of India, recently, in the course of this week itself, had announced a hike in fixed deposit rates, which means one could, in fact, expect lending rate to also go up, because the lending rate and the deposit rates, both of them increase in tandem. One will not increase without the other. And now with the RBI actually coming out and increasing repo rate by 0.25%, we are actually looking at a scenario where our interest rates could go up, our home loans could become that much more costlier.
Right, Kavita, because, the fact is that the RBI, of course, as we understand, is committed to bringing down inflation. So there is actually no real choice but to raise these rates.
Right, Sanjana. In fact, and I'm just reading off RBI's observations as far as inflation is concerned. Now, we do know that the latest retail inflation numbers, which is what we track in India, has actually gone up. It went up to 5%, and basis that, and inflation numbers have been going up, and RBI is committed to a certain target where it wants to maintain the inflation levels, which is also the reason why it has increased the repo rate over here, and which is why you're seeing interest rates going up. In fact, going forward also, RBI does expect that, though overall they are saying that for Q2, that is for the second quarter, they do expect inflation to, not really spike up, but going forward, they do expect a spike up. And homeowners, that is people like you and me, the RBI does also talk to them, and they have also reported that they expect, prices to go up. Now, keeping all of this in mind is probably the reason why the RBI has increased the repo rate over here.
Right.
But of course, we will get more clarity on that once the governor briefs the media.
Kavita Krishnan, thank you so much for putting that in perspective. Big news coming in right now. The RBI has hiked the repo rate by 0.25%. The Monetary Policy Committee, that's the MPC, headed by RBI Governor Urjit Patel, has in fact made this announcement of the third bi-monthly policy rate.